Ich hoffe, ihr seid jetzt alle mit Bier versorgt. Der Vortragende ist es. Ich habe jetzt die Ehre, den Alexander Bernhardt vorzustellen. Der kommt heute extra aus Berlin zu uns. Und Alexander hat Englisch und Politik studiert und bei einem Bier, hat er mir erzählt, ist er auf die Idee gekommen, seine Abschlussarbeit über Zombies zu schreiben. Okay. Heute macht er aber Software, aber heute Abend geht es trotzdem um Zombies. Ich gebe mal weiter in die englische Moderation.
Thank you, Anna. Okay, so this is Alex, and well, like me, he studied in Chemnitz, but he studied English, and believe it or not, he wrote his master's thesis about zombies. The best possible topic, I guess. Yeah, so he had the idea of doing so after a couple of beers. I'm not sure if I was involved.
You were involved.
I was involved, okay. I can't remember. So anyway, he's going to explain us what the extreme presence of zombies in the media nowadays tells us about our society. So, Alex, please.
So, out of convenience for our non-German speakers in this audience, I will present this presentation in English. Should anybody not understand anything that I say, which can happen sometimes, please just raise your hand and I'll be happy to answer your questions. So, anyway, sorry about that. Zombies. Pat was so friendly and to explain already to all of you that I was not drunk. Not really. When I came up with this topic. And why zombies? Well, English and political science is what I studied. And of course, how could you combine such beautiful areas of studies if not for zombies? I have to say, some of you might know the city of Chemnitz. Maybe, maybe not. And if you walk through Chemnitz at night, which happened more often than I could remember, it's a rather empty city. And then, of course, associations to post-apocalyptic movies come to mind. No people around, only shambling undead that want to eat you. So, of course, I have to give the credit to Chemnitz as well for inspiring me to that topic. But anyway, how would you even think, how could you scientifically explain a zombie or a zombie apocalypse, or what tells us that about society? Well, it's pretty easy. But why zombies anyway? Zombies, why the fuck zombies? Oh my god. Well, the zombie itself is, of course, a rather curious creature, since it stinks. Okay, some of us do too, but not today. They're rather stupid, we all know those people as well. They can be really ugly, and of course they want to devour you. The zombie itself is not a fascinating creature. Well, it can be, but the zombie itself tells us a little bit about our society as well. But I will come to that. Of course, in the past, some mythological creatures have undergone the treatment of a scientific, well, explanation or improvisation sometimes as well. And as a counterexample, I want to present you the vampire. Of course, the vampire that is everywhere. It's in the movies, it's in the TV series, it's in books, and we hate him. And Dendel is a very famous scientist from the US, a social scientist, and he said the vampire, he's dashing, smooth complexioned, sexy and rooted with centuries of selective reading. Of course, Dracula being one of the most famous examples. Painfully self-reflective of the tragedy of his condition. So basically a vampire is an emo. And he's poised at the threshold between the it himself, and his super ego, both of exaggerated proportions. Again, emo. The zombie, on the other hand, is of course the ragged, unkempt, rotting corpse, sorely lacking in psychological machinery and social presentability. So basically all of us after a couple of beers. The zombie is the antithesis of the aristocratic figure that is the vampire. So, to bring all this writing down to a couple of images, this does not equal this. However, whenever I show this, I also want to remind you that this is not the same. So, that was about the individual of a zombie. But what about the society? Well, here we can see that in the past years, the zombie genre has undergone a significant growth. We start right here, 2005, we can see the search queries at Google. This is, by the way, I should mention that. In the under 20% or the 20,000 area, you know that. And then over the years, we can suddenly see a rise. Of course, we can always see a little spike by the end of the year, which is, of course, or can be explained by Halloween. But then we see the 2008, 2009, a steady growth, always with the spike at Halloween. But then we see, okay, apparently people use Google for the search of zombies. Why, I do not know. Maybe I don't want to know. But what is interesting is that apparently the zombie is making a very socially acceptable field of research, so to say. And this is here the number of zombie movie up to 2010. We can see in 2001 we had only 11 zombie movies. And then suddenly we had a spike in them going over, starting in 2003, 2004, then again peaking in 2009, a little bit less in 2010. And what the chart now doesn't show is that in 2011 we had another spike with 74 movies produced in 1 year. And if you think about the production span of such a movie from the first idea to the finished product, then it's interesting that the first zombie hype probably began somewhere around 2001, and then the finished products came by 2003. So, as a social scientist, I ask the question, why is that? Why are people suddenly interested in a zombie movie or in the zombie genre? Why are they interested in the decaying corpses that shamble through our street, eat us, and basically destroy society? Well, zombie movies have always been very notorious to peak whenever there's social unrest. And with 2001, I guess everybody knows what happened there. And with the United States being the #1 movie producing country in this regard, then of course we can see that some social anxieties are presented as self-reflective in this movie genre. And I will give you some proof of concept and some evidence, of course, as well, very soon. But first of all, we have to understand where does the zombie myth actually comes from, and why has it taken the form of the, again, shambling corpse that wants to eat you? Well, it all started in Africa, basically. And when the slaves were brought from Africa to the United States and the other American countries during the colonization phase, they of course brought with them the religion. And especially the Western African people brought part of their religion with us about a snake god, Zombo. And this snake god stood for a kind of afterlife. Of course, from tribe to tribe it varied, but we can all agree that this was the basic myth that was settled on. And of course, when they arrived at Haiti, their religion mixed with the already present inhabitants there and created something new. Something new that we know today as voodoo. That originated here. And of course you probably all have heard of voodoo once or twice in your life, where you have those little dolls and you put the little needles in it and then somebody might fall over dead because you hate them. This is basically what is a very basic form of voodoo, and voodoo myth is full of people who have come back from the dead. However, the difference to the voodoo that we know and the original voodoo is that people believed that once you get resurrected by a voodoo priest, then you would be under their spell and you would be their mindless slave doing their work. So a zombie, in this case, was not the shambling corpse that wants to eat you, but a mindless slave that does your bidding. And When then, at the beginning of the 20th century, America had some involvement in Haiti and the Dominican Republic, these beliefs of voodoo zombies came to the United States. And of course, the United States, being the country that it is now, made a movie about it. And one of the first movies about zombies was White Zombie. I will show you a little poster of it very soon. And this movie actually featured the basic idea of a zombie. It's just a shambling slave of some evil voodoo priest that has to be freed. But then, of course, as with everything over time, it changed, and the zombie myth became somehow adaptive to the political realities that plagued the world in the 1950s, 1960s, and even today. And today we can distinguish between three basic zombie origins. So, of course, we have the already mentioned voodoo, the harmless zombie that only is a slave. Then, in the 1950s, with the atomic scare, we had the radiation zombie, and then with a rise of microbiology, biological weapons, and so on, let's say, starting at the end of the 60s up until today, we know all about the virus zombie. Although in a lot of movies, of course, the origin of the undead are not really specified, but a lot of people argue that it could be some form of virus that is in you, and as soon as you die, bam, you're a zombie. And of course, for every of these origins, we have our movies. We have the White Zombie, featuring Bela Lugosi, actually, as the evil voodoo master. And we can see here a very nice convention in 1920s Hollywood cinema. She was not alive, nor dead. Just a white zombie performing his every desire. Apparently topless, so you make up your mind about that. Then, of course, in 1940s, 1950s, we had the radiation zombie. The creature with the atom brain, chock full of thrills, he comes from beyond the grave. And, of course, based on scientific facts, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry about the zombie, no, it's only the radiation. And then, of course, as I mentioned, we have the virus zombie, famously portrayed, for example, in Zombieland from 2009. I guess a lot of people have seen it. Quick hand count, who has? Okay, it's not as much as I expected, but it's okay. For those who haven't seen it yet, do it. It's a very hilarious, nice movie. And so these are the three forms of the zombie origin. And now, of course, we have a lot of literature. We have zombie books. We have zombie survival guides. We have comics on zombie survival guides. We have zombie comics. We have TV series based on zombie comics. We have zombie comics. We have zombie video games. We have strippers versus zombies and zombie strippers. Which is nice, you know, just for a change. Not eating stuff. But as you can see here, zombies can take a lot of forms and can be very adaptive when it comes to the imagination. And of course, always you have to ask, why do people think about that? In this case, it's guys. You know? We like chainsaws, we like strippers, we like zombies. Yeah, how we can combine it? Sure, make a movie about it. Also, for those movie geeks here, this movie has also the legendary Robert Englund in it, who has become famous for his portrayal of Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street. But that's just a side note. Anyway, so why does the zombie even have a function in pop culture? And for that, I looked at two movies in my master thesis. It's the 1968 Night of the Living Dead, the first classical zombie movie made by the famous George A. Romero, the father of the modern zombie genre, the guy who invented basically the flesh-eating zombie that origins are unknown. And the remake of Romero's second film, Dawn of the Dead, from 2004. Why did I choose the remake? You will find out very soon. So these are posters for the movie. Of course, a very classical figure here on the left, portrayed by this lovely lady. She's supposed to be a zombie. And this guy who has a lot more in common with the kind of zombie we know and love maybe today. But of course, this can be explained over time, and I will come to that. So, Night of the Living Dead. Don't forget, these two people are not related. But what happens in this movie? It's a black and white movie, I have to say that first. Came out in 1968. And we have a group of survivors who barricade themselves up in a little cottage in the middle of Pennsylvania. And while the house is under siege by zombies. Now, of course, the survivors do in zombie movies what they are best at. Not fighting zombies, not barricading themselves, but fight each other. Why? This is the question I ask. Why does the zombie help society, in this case, to fall down? Why does the zombie make society fall apart? In the end, it's just a shambling corpse, you know? I mean, it can't fly, it doesn't have super strength, it can't shoot at you, it just eats you, and you're faster. So why be afraid of the zombie? Because the zombie actually is not the real enemy, but it's the other one. It's the other guy in the house. And in this movie, we have a very interesting conflict between the upper and the lower levels of the apartment. We have some people who barricade themselves up in the basement, which is, according to the zombie survival guide, by the way, a bad idea, because you block your only entrance, and if that entrance fails, you're dead. And of course we have the conflict with the people then on the top level. And this movie is also a very interesting allegory for the 1960s America, because we have a black main character, which of course in 1968 in the US is a very big thing. You make a main character, oh my god! People were then shocked, some at least. And we also had the trauma of the Vietnam War, of course, that was brought into this movie by the horrors that the zombies bring to you. So they feast upon you, okay, you got the blood, but oh my god, you have a black main character? And this main character is attacked, of course, by the white main character, who always thinks he knows better. And because of that, their defenses fail, zombies get into the house and almost kill everybody. Almost. Except for the black guy, actually. Who is then, the next day, shot by a white gunslinging mob who clean up the zombie mess and mistake him for a zombie. And I really have to say mistake him, because, you know. So, what does this movie tells us about the 1960s America? We have a white gunslinging mob that shoots a black man. We have Martin Luther King dying the same year. We have the horrors of the Vietnam War that are portrayed by the horrors of the zombie. And we have a society that feasts upon itself and doesn't take action against the common danger that is in their front doors that they can see, the zombie. So this is the criticism of 1960s America. Society tears itself apart because of the little fights, the little girly fights, you know, just oh, you're black, you're white, I'm better than you, fuck you guys, I'm dead. Nothing gained, nothing won, just dead. Brilliant, really, no. Yeah, have that. And here we can see the fight that erupts within the house. We have the white main character, we have the black main character, and then in the end, both end up dead. Then on the other hand, we have 2004's remake Dawn of the Dead, which takes place in a mall. Some characters barricade themselves in there, and of course, the first thing that you do is when you break in the mall in the States is, of course, you get arrested. It doesn't matter if there's a zombie apocalypse happening outside. You get arrested because this is private property, man. Be lucky that I didn't shoot you right in the face, man. Yeah, fuck off. So, but of course, we have this conflict in society as well. We have the white mall dudes with their guns who mistake themselves for being cops because they protect the mall, they protect property. Property is everything. And then we have the helpless survivors, here represented by the black guy, but we had white guys in there as well, who just want to have a shelter, who want to be safe from the zombie apocalypse. And we watch at these movies, we as social scientists, and say, okay, has something changed from the time the movie was made in 1968 and this one in 2004? Yes, it has. In several regards. First of all, the zombies are not shambling anymore. They're not the slow wave of undead that you cannot stop, but they're running. They're running like hell. You really have to be fit, or otherwise you get eaten right away. Apart from that, of course, special effects have gotten better, so the audience is now used to exploding heads more than it was in the 60s, so exploding heads not a problem. And but then, on the other hand, we have a different sort of resolution of this conflict. We have the white guys and the other guys getting along. Who would have thought? I mean, of course, we have in the beginning, we have the little quarrel, you have the little tension for a movie as well, otherwise the audience falls asleep. But then, they actually start working together. They build these big-ass zombie-killing trucks out of some old mall buses and start chainsawing the zombies. And in the end, the guys from the 1968 movie I already mentioned, he dies, shot. And our other characters sail off into the sunrise. And this, of course, not all of them survived. Some blew up. Some sacrificed themselves for the group, something which didn't happen in the 1968 movie as well. And, well, they survived. What has happened? Has America gotten a new self-confidence in the 2004 movie that you would now portray actually people surviving the horrors of a zombie apocalypse? Well, if we look again at September 9/11, America was vulnerable, America was on their knees, and now people find together. They say, we are the people. We will not go down quietly into the night. No, we will stay here and we will fight this. We will band together. And this is portrayed in this movie. So what tells us that movie? It tells us something in society had changed. Although the progress might be, oh, well, you know, I mean, we all know that every country around the world still has their problems, and America is not an exception. However, the self-reflectiveness of a movie and the self-reflectiveness of the people who made this movie often influence an audience's view of this movie. And if we think about it this way, then we can see here that it's a lot more positive than it was in the 60s. And why? Of course, everybody has their own explanation. It can be by 9/11, which is a general theory of that. But, of course, everybody can find their own explanation for this. But the real question that one starts to wonder after watching hundreds of zombie movies every day or a week or whatever is, are we really ready for a zombie apocalypse? You can ask yourself that question. I mean, what I used to do, not doing that anymore, no, is just, you know, you walk somewhere, you ask if you go home tonight, look at your apartment and say, okay, if I were to have to barricade myself up tonight because some undead started running around and want to kill me, would I survive? Do I have the necessary skills to survive? I, for myself, can say no. I mean, I studied English and political science. What should I do, right? I mean, I know there are some physicists among you, or some other people who are good with numbers, so that might help. No, so I know you can construct something, just something. But this is not the only thing. If you also would imagine, and I want to make a quick hand count about this. Who of you imagines zombies as the slow, shambling corpses that are the classical representation? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so it's marginal, to be honest. And who thinks of zombies as the fast-running ones? Animal-like creatures. Okay, I'm not sure if this is a perspective thing, but I think the second one got a couple more hands. So the problem is, why has the zombie changed, and why has the zombie changed us? Well, in the 1960s, we had the slow zombie, as I mentioned, and we had them because they were portrayed as something that you just cannot stop. You might outrun them at first, and you might be even be able to get to a safe place. But in the end, they will bang on your wall, they will tear your walls down until you're down. The fast zombies are the modern representation, a society that people lose track of because they just can't follow. You got a new mobile phone every day, you got a new gadget every day, Facebook's buying that, Google's buying that, and in the end you got two mega corporations battling each other with biological weapons, something like that, probably. And this is a representation of the new zombie. And now we have to ask ourselves, are we ready for this zombie apocalypse? However it may look like, I have no idea. As I said, the only thing I would do in a zombie apocalypse is taste delicious, so Good luck to all of you, and basically that's it. Thank you.